What's going on, everyone? Welcome along to AFC Game by Game. And following the arrival of Danny Welbeck on transfer deadline day, we now know what Arsenal's squad register is going to look like for the 2014-15 campaign. And now we've got to work out what our strongest starting 11 is going to be when every single player is fit. Now, with every single player being fit, especially with Arsenal, maybe that's a bit of wishful thinking on my behalf, but hopefully we can get this team out at some point in the season. Now, I've been working with a 4-1-4-1 formation throughout the majority of the campaign. We've seen that adopted against the likes of Palace, Everton, Besiktas, and this is a formation that, in my opinion, it's not working, and I can understand why Wenger's doing it because it allows him to put more creative players into the team. But I think we're a bit top heavy doing that, and not only that, it leaves a massive gaping hole between the attackers and the defenders. And there's no real link between those two. And we saw against Leicester with Matthew Flamini. He kept dropping in between the two centre-backs, left a massive gaping hole for Leicester to just roam around and do whatever they want with. And Mikel Arteta, I think he's definitely better suited to that position, but then again, he hasn't got the legs. So I don't know. I'm still think we're going to massively regret not getting a DM in. But you know, who knows how much that is going to cost us in the future. But I think, in my opinion, we should be going with a 4-2-3-1 formation. That's something we used a lot last season, and in my opinion, it would help us. It would help that defensive stability, and hopefully, it would help the squad play in a more productive and efficient style that we were seeing last campaign. Getting into my starting lineup though, I'll go with the obvious, Szczesny in goal. He had a fairly patched season last campaign, I've got to be honest. He's one player that scares the hell out of me at times. He's got to stop doing this thing where he does those really short passes and does these tricks trying to get around defenders. He's got to mature himself in that respect. But I think his shot stopping is second to none. He's probably one of the best in Europe, in fact, at his shot stopping, and his reactions as well, absolutely sublime. But there are areas of his game that he certainly needs to work on. And rightly, he did share the Golden Glove last season with Petr Cech, but I think that was mainly due to having such a good defence in front of him. And hopefully he can bring that kind of momentum into this season. But again, improve in the areas where he does naturally need to improve. The back four, you could probably predict what this is going to be. Debuchy, Koscielny, Mertesacker and Kieran Gibbs worked well, apart from taking out Sagna and putting in Debuchy. That's worked for us really well last season. Keeping Gibbs fit, that's kind of where I think games are going to be won or lost for us. I think Monreal's played okay for us in the games where he's had to fill in for Gibbs recently, but Gibbs went off injured against Crystal Palace. Just shows how injury prone he is. Personally, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the team. I'm hoping that he'll be able to maintain some kind of fitness. He was saying in his pre-season notes that his aim was to stay fit for the season and he wanted to achieve some personal goals. So I'm hoping he'll be able to live up to the expectations surrounding him. On that right-hand side, Mathieu Debuchy came in. I think he's a definite upgrade from Bacary Sagna. I mean, his work rate is absolutely sublime. His work going down the wing, especially going forward, and his crossing is a lot better than Sagna's as well. So I'm really pleased we've got Debuchy, and he can be a certain mentor to the likes of Chambers, Bellerin, and even Carl Jenkinson when he comes back next season. So it's really good to have a player like Debuchy in the squad. And then, of course, Mertesacker and Koscielny in that centre-back role. Proved last season that it's one of the most efficient centre-back partnerships in the league. Probably I don't know, second best, if not joint best, with John Terry and Gary Cahill. But I think it's a really good partnership to have. It's that these two players complement each other. You've got the prowess of someone like Mertesacker and the physical ability of him, and then you've got Koscielny, who is just quite frankly an absolute beast of a player. Looking up the pitch in that centre defensive midfield role. You know, I'm going to have to go with Mikel Arteta. I am really concerned about this, to be honest, and it's not to say that I dislike Arteta. I think he's a magnificent player, one of the best passers of the ball that you're ever going to see in the league. And, you know, the way he's adopted this defensive midfield role the past couple of seasons, really got to say congratulations to him, because it's not his natural role. He is an attacking midfielder, and he has done well. And, you know, I think there is a lot of pressure on his shoulders this season. I'm hoping that he'll be able to do a job until January at least, and maybe we'll be in the market for another defensive midfielder then. But who knows? There is a lot of pressure on him. But maybe we could see someone like Jack Wilshere reverted into that role, but I don't think he'd particularly work there. And I'd also love to see Callum Chambers fulfil this role. Maybe we could try that in that Capital One Cup game against Southampton at home. That would be a really good opportunity to put Chambers in that situation, and hopefully he'd be able to do a good job there. But in the meantime, Arteta, our skipper, is going to have to fulfil that role. But I don't think that's going to work in a 4-1-4-1 formation where he's having to play as the lone midfielder. He needs someone like Wilshere or Ramsey alongside him to cover him and make last-ditch tackles, because we know that Arteta's got absolutely no pace about him. And it's not to lay into Arteta at all, it's just the fact that he's not getting any younger and his best days are probably behind him. But he is someone that can do a job for us. He's our captain, and I am hoping that I can put my faith in him for the season, and he can prove me wrong in some respects, because I do think he can go out there and he has the potential to have a good campaign, because we did see him play well against Palace, but he's got to continue that form. And like I said, he'll only play to his best when he's got someone like Ramsey or Wilshere alongside him. Now, looking alongside Arteta, because I did say we should play in the 4-2-3-1 formation, I'd love to see Aaron Ramsey alongside him. I thought that's where he played last season. It allows him to get up the pitch as well as make tackles back down the pitch as well. Typical box-to-box midfield role. He's one of those late comers into the box that could score a goal. Probably no quibbles as to why I put him in my starting 11 ahead of Jack Wilshere. Ramsey, just looking at Ramsey solely for a second, he hasn't really kick-started his campaign yet, in my opinion. He has got a couple of goals, but that's not to say he's been putting in good performances. If you analyse him and watch him for a whole game, his passing has been incredibly poor at times, as has his dribbling, and he's really got to up his game and, fulfil the player that he was last season. He's really got to emulate himself, and hopefully he'll be able to do that. He's only young. I'm not expecting him to hit the ground running as such. I do think it will take time, especially in this new formation in the 4-1-4-1 that I reckon we're going to persist with throughout the whole season. But yeah, Aaron Ramsey alongside Mikel Arteta in the pivot in the midfield, with Arteta in the defensive midfield role and Ramsey in the box-to-box midfield role. And then on the right-hand side of the pitch, I'd go with Theo Walcott. Of course, we know he's coming back from injury soon. I think he's probably one of our most crucial players. We saw towards the back end of last season how he slackened off. He's one of our top goal scorers and one of our top assists. I don't think he's someone that's going to slot into the team right away and start playing really good football. We can't expect that of him. He's been out for, 7-8 months now. I think it would be unfair to put all that pressure on him, and I think we'll slightly ease him back into the team around maybe the start of October time, because I think he's coming back into training this month. Some reports saying he'll be back for City, but I think we'll probably see the best out of him October, November time. But it's going to be really good to have him back in the squad, especially alongside Alexis Sanchez. The pace going forward there is going to be absolutely sublime. And not to forget, on that right-hand side, we've also got Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who can also be deployed in a midfield role or on the left-hand side of the pitch. And I think it's going to be a huge season for Chamberlain. But the only way I could see him really getting in the team is if another injury was to happen to Walcott or Sanchez, which hopefully it won't. But I think chances are going to be pretty hard to come by for Chamberlain. He's really got to prove his worth. In my opinion, he probably is one of our most productive players in the team. His work rate, again, is absolutely fantastic. The way he just bombs up and down the pitch and then will chase the ball all the way back. Absolutely fantastic player. And I'm hoping that he will get a good number of appearances this season. And another player that's fairly injury prone, so hopefully he'll remain injury free for a majority of the season at least. In the attacking midfield role, no queries whatsoever. It's got to be Mesut Ozil. I think he's really got to step up to the plate, and that's only going to happen if we don't play him in that left-hand sided role. Why are we playing the best number 10 in the world on the wing? It's ridiculous. I think, we're never going to really see a massive game from Ozil. He's going to be one of those players that does stuff off the ball that we've just got to appreciate, because I guarantee you he'll get at least 10 to 15 assists this season, if not more than that. And he's also got to work on his goal scoring attributes as well, because there are times when he gets one-on-one with a keeper and he'll pass it and it'll be the total wrong decision. So he's got to work on various aspects of his game, but he has had one season in the Premier League now, and I am expecting big things from him. That's not just because of the price tag jurisdiction, but I also think because he is one of the most highly rated players in the world. Criticism is going to come his way, and he's got to live up to his name, because he is a world-class player. We all know that. He's got world-class players around him now in Aaron Ramsey and Alexis Sanchez. He's got a good striker now in front of him in Danny Welbeck. He's got an alternative to Giroud, maybe someone that he'd prefer to work with, someone that will make runs, someone that's really good off the ball as well. So maybe that'll work to his favour, but I'm really hoping that we'll see a good season from Mesut Ozil, and again, someone I'm hoping will remain injury-free. Regarding Ozil as well, he has to bulk up. The way he is bullied around the pitch at times, it was a prime example against Leicester. He was just thrown on the floor. He's just got to be someone that's got to bulk himself up and adapts to the Premier League. He's a World Cup winner now, and I do expect massive things from him. On that left-hand side, going to go over Alexis Sanchez. I don't think he's someone that's predominantly seen on the left-hand side of the pitch, but I think he could do a job there. I think he could do a job on either wing for us, as well as in that striking role. Wenger said he bought Sanchez as a striker, but we haven't seen him play much as a striker this season. We've seen Sanogo there, and we've also seen Giroud there. But it perplexes me why he said that Sanchez was a striker and then doesn't really persist to play. Now, I think he's done an okay job as a striker, but we know he's not an out-and-out one. He is starting to score goals now. He's got 2 goals in 2 games, which is really decent. Hopefully he can bring that momentum into the remainder of the campaign, and hopefully he can bring that into the City game, where we're going to need him at his best. And his work rate, again, another player that can do it exceptionally. He can hold off about 4 players at one time and then somehow wriggle his way out of it. And he's an excellent finisher and goal scorer as well, so it's really exciting to have a player like him in the team. Now, in that striking role, I would put Olivier Giroud there, but considering he's out until January now, I'm going to put Danny Welbeck in there. I think it is going to take him a little bit of time to adapt to our system. I'm not expecting him to hit the ground running, score like a hat-trick against City. That's a great game for him, by the way, to make his debut in, but he is definitely an upgrade from Yaya Sanogo. And that's not to lay any kind of hate on Sanogo. I think he can certainly fulfill his potential that is supposedly there in the coming years, but he's a young boy. He shouldn't be having to have the situation where he's spearheading Arsenal for the remainder of the campaign because of an injury to Olivier Giroud. And we have got Danny Welbeck in now, who, you know, I'm hoping will have a good season for us. I think he offers a really good alternative to Giroud in the sense that he's full of pace, power, passion, drive as well. He wants to be here. His interview came out this morning and he just looked really happy to be here. And he's a really hungry player. He's gonna track back really well for us. So he's gonna want to prove his worth. He's also gonna want to prove to his former employers that he can be a big player and a big name, and when he does play in his preferred role, in that striking role, he can be a big name player and score a load of goals. I know he has to work on his finishing as such, but I think his work off the ball, the situations, especially if you look at some of Man United's build-up goals, he's been involved in practically all of them, and that's when he's been involved in on the left-hand side of the pitch or the right-hand side of the pitch where he's been deployed as a winger. So I think he should work well with our system. Again, it's someone that's going to take time, but if he could hit the ground running with Arsenal, that would be absolutely sublime, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Danny Welbeck in the team. So, as a whole, my Arsenal lineup would be in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Szczesny, Debuchy, Mertesacker, Koscielny, Kieran Gibbs, Arteta, Ramsey, Walcott, Ozil, Sanchez, and Danny Welbeck, and possibly Olivier Giroud when he comes back. That's not to forget that we've got players like Santi Cazorla in there, Jack Wilshere, who could have a massive season, Joel Campbell, and even players like Serge Gnabry. So we've got an excellent squad at our disposal attacking-wise. I still think defensively we are very short, very lightweight, possibly even worse off than, well, possibly we are worse off than last season in defence because we lost Vermaelen and Jenkinson. So we're going to have to promote Bellerin and Hayden, in my opinion. I'm hoping that they'll both have good seasons at youth level and hopefully get promotion. I think they both deserve. I think they both had decent pre-seasons, and we have flirted with them in the first team a bit. So hopefully it will be a good season from us. Whether we'll challenge for the title remains to be seen, in my opinion. We've got someone to put the ball in the back of the net now in Danny Welbeck, which was our problem against Leicester. With 24 attempts, you've got to be expected us to slot some of them away. Welbeck will certainly bring that to the team, put the ball in the back of the net, but I still think that defensive midfield position is going to cost us, especially in a 4-1-4-1 formation, and I guarantee you now that formation is going to get massively exposed against Manchester City. When you've got players like Fernandinho, Torre, Silva, Nasri, they will exploit that space between the attackers and the defenders absolutely to the maximum. And I'm generally worried about that game, but I'm hoping our attacking prowess will out theirs. And hopefully that'll be a really interesting game. Hopefully we can maintain a title challenge. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for us to win the league given the capabilities of Chelsea, City, and even United now, even Liverpool as well, given the money they've all spent. But we have spent big this summer, so therefore got to expect big things. But I don't know. I can't judge us on a couple of games just yet. No point looking at the table. It's irrelevant at the moment. Give it to October, November time. Then we can really see where we stand in this league. And hopefully it will be a good season. I've said that a couple of times now, but I am hopeful. And I think it's going to be one of the most competitive leagues that we're ever going to see, given like the financial resources of some of the teams. United, I'm including in that, considering they've spent 150 million or something this summer. But you know, like I said, hopefully it'll be a big season from us. Anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like rating. Subscribe to AFC Game by Game. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.